summer, the split that we won, I was very hungry, just like to prove myself. That split I came in like I was on a run, you know, and I had the momentum.
Big damage, yeah! Abbedagge! 1 for 0 so far, and Abbedagge comes in. Abbedagge is a problem. The 5th to ever hoist an LCS trophy, and it's 100 Thieves.
But once we won the split, I felt like maybe I lost a bit of motivation, and then I wasn't really my best self. I wasn't really competing anymore because I thought like, hey, I can take a step off the gas and like we'll still win because I still think we are the best. But then I really dropped off.
He had been pressured very heavily there, so Abbedagge really needs to step up. But he hasn't looked really good since the start of spring.
And the competition has gotten stronger.
I realized that I'm not that good at, let's say, finding opportunities or making the plays. So I was like, hey, I really have to work on this, because if I do better at this, then I can be the best again.
I think Abbedagge didn't really start the split to his best, and he wasn't performing that well. I think as a friend, it's really good to see someone come back out of slump, like work really hard and make his way back to the top. I think for sure he played like best. He like carried almost every single game after the half of the split.
Oh. Alright, so Torrent is going in for an ult. He's out there with Seraphine! Massive ulti, but Bjorksen took out FBI already, but still the counter kill is good. Hansala kicked into the back of the team! Abbedagge on a killing spree!
When the stakes are high and there's pressure and there's like, hey, like this is when it counts. There's players that will step up and pop off. I want to be up there in the talks again of like being one of the best in the league. My motivation is to prove to myself that I deserve to be here and I am the best mid laner in the LCS.
100 Thieves looking for their second LCS title. Cloud9 have already done that 4 times. Right now, though, 1-1 in this series. Abbedagge, it's weird. It's hard to say who's been the best performing on 100 Thieves. That game felt like there were so many huge stand-up performances. Huhi had all the engages. Abbedagge, Deathless and all the team fights. Ssumday, the top diff, despite never getting any help coming from either side, was so much about what killed the backline off. We'll see how Cloud9 bounces back. They have side selection. They chose blue.
So this will be the big change from game 1 and game 2. C9 moving over to blue side, being able to maybe target ban a couple things out. Felt like they had to give up the Kalista Azir, giving something over to 100 Thieves to work with for a first pick. So now we'll see if 100 Thieves want to get rid of those. Bans not showing up on screen right now, maybe a little bit of a bug. I have them in front of me thus far. We have
Spoil it.
Senna by on blue side, banned out by C9. Azir taken away last. 100 Thieves deciding on their third ban. They go Kalista, Yuumi, and Sejuani taken out.
Yeah, so the Sejuani stays as a permanent ban for 100 Thieves. We'll hear from production if they need to restart this champ select, but currently, I think we're restarting.
Yeah.
Fudge looks oddly distracted for being the one locking in a champion right now.
Yeah.
He's believing in the heart of the cards, okay? Listen, if you heard his Travis Gafford interviews, he will just say whatever he wants to say at the moment in time and then flip-flop during the interview. It's like, I will let random chance decide what I want to play. I think it's a wise strategy. I think it's what he's going for the rest of this draft. No longer trusting his coaches. He's going to let random chance decide what goes on here.
Well,
I believe the draft is still progressing.
Yeah.
Because the picks feel very real so far. So what's happened is it's a first pick Lulu by Fudge, obviously just by C9. With Yuumi banned, they take the Soul Enchanter, and then a takeaway of the Wukong by 100 Thieves. And right now they're hovering Zeri.
Ooh, all right. They change it up. They go Lucian. I'm reacting to something that no one else can see, so it might sound a little...
Yeah.
Whoa, guys, you won't believe this.
Time to practice your podcasting skills, okay? The dive.
It's radio, not podcast.
Get out your pen and paper because we're scripting this whole draft. So it will likely be Lucian Nami locked by 100 Thieves. So they have Wukong, Lucian, Nami.
Instant.
Whereas C9 has gone with another Zeri angle, this time Zeri, Lulu, and the Poppy jungle. So they're switching roles a little bit with the jungle picks, but of the teams in NA, 100 Thieves has played Lucian, Nami the most.
They've played it the most. They've also been very successful at it. And there they are out of the lobby after the first phase. Maybe they'll just recreate it up to then and then pick it up. We'll have to see what the ultimate decision is. Sorry for the slight error there, not being able to get that on screen for you guys.
Sven, with a little bit of playful trash talk, says remake bad draft, GG Reaper. Waldo Diff says FBI. That is the scrim meta, actually. I hated it. I think it's still happening a little bit, but sometimes
Halfway through the draft.
Yeah, like if a team wasn't happy with how a draft goes in scrims, they just dodge out and they're like, oh yeah, 1-0, you win. But it's like, no, this is wasting our time.
Yeah.
Like, let's go through the rest of the draft. But this one seems like an unfortunate technical difficulty.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We begin it soon. I was shaping up to do a very interesting draft. I kind of hope it sticks.
It should.
And it's
It
not
should.
a full
It should. It
remake.
should.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, and I like this in the 100 Thieves camp because I like where they kind of craft for themselves. So again, Cloud9 kept the exact same 3 bans as the previous game. Okay, no Azir for Abba. He's been too good on it. No Senna. It's a one-sided pick basically, right? Only one game for Zven on the champion, and whatever the third one was that they kept going for as well. So that was constantly gone. Lulu or Yumi, whatever, doesn't matter. Either way, they kept the same 3 bans last time. I like that 100 Thieves has kept the early game plan going though. Okay, last time we went for the whole Callisto thing. They're like, we're red side. You were dumb and let us get Callisto. We're not gonna make that mistake. We're keeping the Callisto ban as the red side team. But what does play Lucian Nami? What does keep playing early game? Because yeah, they forced Cloud9 to play before they were ready. You know, right? It's like you have to fight for 4th rate because it's 20 minutes in and it's gonna be Soul, so you better show up. And then they got to cross map for it, right? Like I think it's really powerful, and it's cool that they're still saying, no, we're gonna have a crushing bottom side. We know what you're gonna go for. It's a Lulu every single time. Guess what? We're gonna have lane priority, and it's gonna be that same ticking clock.
Yeah, well, I think as well, they're just such a well-coordinated team, being together for a year and a half. So, like, that game, I think, definitely shook C9 a little bit because they very much felt like they outscaled. And they went with even gold to the 25-minute mark and then just got slammed team fight after team fight because 100 Thieves was way more on the same page about how they wanted to play the game. So I completely respect and I think like the play by 100 Thieves to just keep picking early game comps because even if the game is even, they still have confidence that they will be able to out-execute and win the game anyway.
Very important stuff. More importantly, Zven in chat throwing up his signature hand sign. There's emoji for it. So I didn't know the League client could handle emojis, but he's thrown out.
How do you pull it off?
Yeah, so by the way, Windows period is just the emoji window, like in Windows.
Oh.
So if you didn't know this, you can always get emojis in pretty much any chat box. It's Windows period. The box shows up. You can search for it, and you can put in all kinds of stuff in the chat box.
I didn't know he was chill like that.
You're welcome.
I can't do it.
It's a
Can't pull it
meme.
off.
That's where it's from. I don't know why Zven started doing it though, because I feel like he's been doing this all the way back to like the Neil's days. He's always had goofy poses and pictures. Yeah. And in the last like 4 or 5 years, he's just decided to solidify it into the whatever this hand sign is. I don't know if
the horns.
So people get what I'm talking
Is
about.
this hang
We'll end
loose?
up on camera
With a
again.
thumb out, it's hang loose, right? And then if it's not, it's the horns for metal.
My
So-
feel is people
No,
are
it's-
scrambling to get into Champ Select rather than...
Yeah.
You think the production's doing something more important than showing my hand signs?
You know, it's also technically ASL for the letter L and letter I at the same time. Pinky up is I, and then an L is an L. So you can. He's just saying ill. He loves Illinois. It's the state code for the state of Illinois. They're going to Chicago for the finals. He's actually 5-headed you. I'm sticking to it. Chicago, Illinois. That is what he's holding the hand signs up for. Doesn't make any sense. We're going for it here. Senna, Vi, off the table. Azir also going to be the 3 bans. Sejuani, Yumi, and Callista. 3rd ban for 100 Thieves. As I look forward to my crystal ball, I'm foreseeing first pick on the remaining enchanter of Lulu.
They jumped out. They said, that's enough for you, Phreak. We'll just show everything that they're supposed to be at.
Boom. Wow. Out of order everywhere. But yes, this is the draft so far. Into the second round. Again, both teams have jungle and bottom lane.
So as we were saying, the Lucian Nami, a bit of a 100 Thieves specialty. Not that it's not seen other places around the world, but in North America, they're arguably the best duo at it. They did try to break it out in the Team Liquid series, fell a little bit flat, and they ended up abandoning it for the rest of that time. Here, I think they're just going to give it a chance against the C9 ball lane, because if you're able to slam the scaling side of these matchups, it puts a lot of pressure on the enemy team to try and figure out how they want to find their first pick, because you can answer it like this.
The Thieves just putting on the bands of the champions that Cloud9 have played in this series. Fudge's Cannon was good, and though it didn't win, I do think Jensen's Anivia was quite strong as well.
A respect band for sure, because it definitely limited the things that Abbedagge could do with Taliyah, which is why you see the Taliyah counter there. C9 doesn't want an overemphasis on being able to crash bot lane, but that does leave Ahri up, which had been such a high priority pick before, but has fallen off a little bit.
Jensen maybe going to slam the skill matchup a little bit with the LeBlanc. We'll see if he wants to do it. It's one of his best champions. Did play it a lot as well in the upset over EG. Had a couple of those big chunk outs before neutral objectives, and probably going to go back to it here.
Likes the Gnar, likes the LeBlanc. Answer into Ahri. Gonna be an exciting mid lane here as Assassins will come through and try to find early pressure. Aatrox, not a surprise, definitely has been a solid one. We know the matchup in Gnar is just fine. If somebody wants to go on to Comfort and be a solid semi-frontliner. Engage, not the strongest on 100 Thieves. Wukong is okay. Ahri in a pinch can do a little bit of something, but it's no Ornn, it's no Amumu. It's no obvious team fight start, but
yeah,
fighter heavy. I'm gonna say it feels pretty early mid-game heavy as well, but that worked well for 100 Thieves in game 2.
Yeah, and actually neither team has extremely strong initiation across the board. It's a lot of just generic power picks, but it's gonna be a very pokey, kind of lane push priority type game where they have to set up around objectives by being there first. The best engaged tool would definitely be Wukong in this case, or like a really good flash poppy stun, but no huge initiation from either side.
It's just such a different look from 100 Thieves, even though it's still early game oriented. The lack of the Amumu setup, they had so many great engages here that huhi's just kind of be follow up with the wave. It's a very different look in terms of how they actually pilot these champions, but overall, I think the scope of the game feels very similar, where 100 Thieves are going to be trying to put the pedal to the metal in the bot lane, and hopefully they turn around that dive better this time.
Time to take it down. Last comments from the coaches. Curious if Cloud9 thinks this draft is also a slam dunk, because though they thought so in the previous game, it was 100 Thieves who had control the whole time.
I did like the Anivia ban kind of as a nod to be like, that actually was a good pick. We're going to ban it the next time. It didn't work there, but we really don't want to have to potentially deal with that again.
And now, as the coaches leave, we see who's going to win game 3. A 1-to-1 score line. An absolute barn burner in game 1. 100 Thieves with control almost the entire time in game 2. Out execution, probably the name of that game. And now we'll see what gameplay is going to be in store for us here in game 3. Who's going to be the first team to qualify for the LCS Championship Final? Game 3 awaits us here between 100 Thieves and Cloud9.
Love the energy from the crowd. I know at the end of game 1, about 90% of the crowd was standing on their feet for that last auto attack from Jensen. Also, with how close this series has been, imagine that gets stuffed. He doesn't finish it. Would we be staring at a 100 Thieves 2-0? So many close fights throughout both games as we're in game 3.
Jensen, vision gained on both sides here and gets the aggressive trinket ward down. This can be sweepable, but no one's got a sweeper up, so it's not really gonna happen. Looks like Clo's gonna be on his way to the late trinket ward to watch the Raptor pit and then grab sweeper. Actually gonna keep his ward, it looks like. So
yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was going to be that.
Oh, it was the no ward sweeper. So he's actually going to get rid of that thing in his Raptor pit, actually, or his red buff. So I actually kind of like that one. Thinks he's going to be safe enough, and this way he'll get rid of the vision.
Yeah, probably not enough time to sweep and then go for a mix-up of starting blue or something.
Yeah.
So probably just going to sweep this one out, but then still be given away about where he wants to actually start.
And if he wants to kill it, it allows level 2 on both solos. You share it 3 ways. Abba's in range for the XP, then he'll get the last hit. So both solo laners will get level 2 off of their 6th CS in lane. So yeah, Closer could not hide. He would be late to blue. Ultimately chooses red, but it does give the XP advantage to both solos. I like this sort of line of play. Yeah.
Nice little start there. Abba as well, warding out onto a potential Blaber path. A lot of attention feels like it's gone mid lane early on in the first 2 games. It feels like both teams understand that they want to break their mid laners out to enable some playmaking in side lanes. Game 1 and game 2, they went back and forth quite a bit. And in this match in particular, it's maybe the skilliest of the 3 we've had so far that will swing very heavily.
It is, but it's also maybe the most volatile bot lane we've seen with Lucian, Nami going up against Zeri, Lulu. Interestingly enough, they've actually achieved the push at level 1, but all it takes would be one nice bubble from huhi to be able to get aggressive. Doesn't have it yet, so they're losing the level 2 war for sure.
Yep. And Zven, even though he has gone Relic Shield, choosing to be the more defensive option. And I like this kind of tech. Berserker's on the barrier here. Says, okay, look, you're going Electrocute Nami, which is like entirely about burst, that sacrificing everything else in the kit, basically. And saying, well, as long as I can barrier and I have heal from Zven, you can't kill us through all of that, right? And I mean, it does make sense. There's also the sort of meta call, the mind game call of, if I run Ignite, you run Ignite, I run Cleanse, I kill your Ignite, it's kind of okay for me. It's like, you're actually running Cleanse yourself, none of it matters.
Definitely the case. They also have First Strike Lucian. Want to be farming up that gold a little bit more. You see a lot of trading on the top side. Heyo.
And really good damage here. Ssumday gonna come in. Actually, a flash force out of Fudge. He was gonna be mini Gnar and thought he might have not had what it took to survive. Gets a cannon. Ssumday just needs to sustain back up.
Yeah, playing on limits for sure. Fudge trying to get that wave to crash and harass as much as possible. So this could be a prep for a dive. They got a good chunk on Ssumday. It wouldn't matter if he doesn't have the flash. Poppy's such a skilled turret diver. Fudge just has to get this wave in. Good defensive war by Ssumday, but he will be denied off this wave.
Knows he's spotted, and that means that is going to be a lot of gold denied out of this one, unless he sees Blaber leaving, which means, yeah, it's interesting about the ward control, right? Because theoretically, could try to play in range, then he gets boomerang, then it gets really awkward, so it is going to be gold and XP lost. He will lose pretty much his entire wave. Minions are thankfully spotted enough that he will get both these, at least for XP.
Yeah, nice little advantage gotten right away by Fudge there in terms of the XP. But does cost him his flash sort of to make that play. So we'll see if there's a repeat gank potentially. Oh!
Yeah, big damage barrier popped early. Move speed because Zeri passive, a lot of damage block, but it means they also trade pretty well back into FBI. The Essence Summoner Force, that's certainly pretty relevant. If the heals come back through for Nami, what's going to look like as mid laners fight back and forth. Jensen dodging most of the orb.
Yeah, actually got max barrier value there. Just made sure all of the barrier disappeared when he pressed it and has potions left to try and sustain back up.
Outplayed.
Yeah, got him.
Definitely a scary game so far. All three lanes have that potential to just explode open one way in the matchup. And so far, small advantage to C9 in gold, but the only summoners really blown are on their side as well, which means that when Closer finds an angle on to somebody, it will be in their favor.
Fudge actually not getting the recall off. He had the wave shove, then had the option of recalling and playing for it, but decides I'll stay in lane for now. I don't feel under too much threat. Health bar is actually decent right now. And as the teleport slowly ticks back for Ssumday, flash slowly ticks back for Fudge. Fudge kind of can choose when to play his lane out and at what point does he want the recall.
Yeah, Fudge definitely thinks so much about the first 5 minutes of the laning phase, knows his matchups extremely well.
It's a funny time playing against Ssumday as well. If people remember all the way back to kind of Fudge's debut in the top lane, it was in that lock-in tournament. He played against Ssumday and got absolutely bodied. It was a trial by fire. He then played Alphari right after in lock-in tournament, and he was kind of taken apart by some of the best top laners in the West. And then, over time, gradually got better and better, was able to get the win over Alphari in the finals in spring before heading to MSI, and that's really when the legend of Fudge, the Fudge factor, started to pop off, had by a lot of people's estimations the best performance at that 2021 MSI.
And then after that, also plays Spring Split as a mid laner. Does decent, right?
Yeah.
Is actually, he's not the best mid laner in the league, but
It's top 10, I guess. Sure.
I mean, didn't
I wasn't a fan personally.
wasn't he actually like third in the All-Pro voting?
I didn't put him there, but I think he might have been.
I think he got it, and they were also the number 1, number 2 team for that split. They had a lot of hype around Summit, and then funnily enough, it was Ssumday who exposed Summit out of the LCS basically after the MVP kind of season that he had. They just slammed Ornpick into Summit and took apart C9 and blew up that spring run that led to the entire reconstruction of the Cloud9 roster. It was the 100 Thieves blueprint of how to deal with what was kind of a one-dimensional team.
Yeah, but as Zven role swapped over, became really good. It ended up being an enchanter-heavy metagame as well, which I think suited him. He's already, ranged champion player, going to be good at being safe in a target in team fights. Had the right instincts for it. Looks pretty good overall. And obviously a close game here. Cloud9 ahead in gold without even kills. They're just winning the lanes.
And I think pushing 100 Thieves off Drake was quite important. First, Drake has won both games of the series. Probably more of a coincidence than a causation, but one other coincidence.
Here we go.
That we found, looking at the history of these teams in playoffs, the last 2 playoffs, 100 Thieves has been the one to knock C9 out. And C9 has then made roster changes afterwards. So if you currently like this C9 roster,
you better win.
They better beat C9 here.
That's funny.
Or better beat 100 Thieves.
Better beat 100 Thieves. I gotta point out though, Berserker is against the lane bulliest lane and is up 10 CS, 13 CS right now in this one, doing incredibly well down there. He got barrier value, but Zven is always the target. Was in range of a lot of it. With a lot of help there, had his heal burn. Berserker goes for the maximum, wants FBI, heal forced out, he's shielded well. Big damage out of Berserker, and Blaber's on the way.
Confident play out of Berserker there, stepping forward, never even once considers turning around when huhi shoots the bubble behind him, is anticipating a backstep there. Berserker is a player who just has so much aggression. And there you see it, turning around after they chunked out Zven, evening that trade out. Does get the heal out of huhi to kind of even out the heal trade that they got from Zven.
Yeah, 16 more minions Berserker has killed, assuming FBI cleans up those 6. So yes, it does sit at 16. That's very impressive by both Berserker and Zven. And that one trade prompts Blaber to decide to start Rift Herald.
Almost a 1,000 gold advantage for Cloud9 in this game off the back of straight up laning. Jensen as well getting the better of Abbedagge in the mid lane. You can see the mid mana pool just so taxed by Abba through the impressive trading by Jensen. If you're not ever able to land the charms on the distortions forward, it's very easy to kind of get the advantage slowly over time for the LeBlanc side of the matchup.
It means you got Rift Herald. Cloud9 looking good right now. Mid lane 20, bot lane nearly 20. Herald and inventory feeling great. More gold to earn as eventually going to see some turret plates go to somebody. Fudge eventually got his TP back to lane. It was for plated steel caps. Make sure you can kind of run away from Ssumday's engages. Got to get closer. Physical damage jungler there as well. Now 100 Thieves say, we sure would like this Drake, if possible. Gonna leash it up.
Yeah, Jensen just went back to base. Abbedagge is here much faster, so it's likely going to go over to 100 Thieves. It is the cost of doing business when the global call out for Rift Herald comes out, but C9 is
hanging around. You can evict the jungler. If you get him, it's yours. Smite comes in. Well done by Closer. First Drake 2-0 in this series. Doesn't necessarily change here. Abbedagge wants the Herald, or the Scuttle, not going to get it. Smited by Blaber.
I mean, he got the crab.
He did. We heard the cheers. That's the important part of this one.
Dragon, Bedge, you see the crabs, you know it's good. And overall, they also got the ultimate out of Nami for the Poppy ultimate, which means that in lane, at least, this will free up some more space for C9's bot lane to kind of continue to play aggressively here.
Hold on, Ssumday gets the blue buff steal as well.
Get out.
Yeah. He's gonna get his own chain. Good flash. Jensen's gonna get away from all of it. The root is gonna meet up though. Does Fudge have the damage? Because these got teammates as well. Blue buff handed off to Jensen. TY for leash. First blood, Cloud9.
And look at that CS gap in mid lane on top of the first blood. Huge play by Jensen.
Yeah, over 1,000 gold over Abbedagge means that when this game kind of starts breaking open in the next 5 to 10 minutes, he's going to be so strong inside lane. Same for Fudge here. Ssumday trying to take advantage of the fact that everyone had just kind of been shown in the bot side, thinks he can sneak in there and get it. This was kind of heads up there. He doesn't want the snapback to come through.
Yeah.
So he flashes out of the Aatrox W, which allows his chain to stay on top of him and make sure that he can't just kind of run to the right side and get out for free.
And C9 did a good job not really giving Ssumday a good flash. They cut him off and made sure to stay on both sides of him the whole time.
Really well done. Puts him in the gold lead. 2.2 thousand. Cloud9 running away with this one. A single Drake all separates them from crushing 100 Thieves at every turn in this game. Ssumday will get his wave onto the tower, sure. But it's looking good in a lot of places. Mana pools are low, which means 100 Thieves don't really want to be able to fight this one. FBI pretty powerless. 1,100 gold in inventory as well. Similar, to be fair, for Berserker, but I think Lucian really needs the mana more than Zeri does.
Yeah, next Dragon going to be pretty important for Cloud9. Don't want to get Dragon stacked on by 100 Thieves, but a really powerful point with Jensen having Loot and Zeko right now. So he's going to be winning lane even harder until Abbedagge can match that Mythic, and that's also just going to give them so much more pressure over this bot side river, because Jensen can consistently put this wave in, means he can move down, which means they can threaten dives on this turret. So even though Jensen has the gold now, they're going to pay it off and try to get Berserker fed.
Yeah, and especially because FBI was low on mana there. Blaber takes the read, charges down to the bot lane to make sure they get that for Berserker to channel even more gold into his pockets as well, identifying him as the biggest late game threat. C9 did a good job of taking advantage of the late reset by FBI there.
The crabs, yeah, and keep stacking up. Cloud9, where the crab goes, so goes their victories.
I'd be willing to bet in games where Blaber gets more crabs than the other jungle, he never loses.
Never. I believe it.
At least it's above 50-50, right?
It's got to be pretty high.
Going for the play, stuns into the wall, big damage out of Fudge, and he's got Jensen. Hey, Ssumday! Knock, the duo is here! Knocks him down again, 3,000 gold, puts Cloud9 ahead.
This is turning into a rout by C9 here in Game 3. The largest early game gold lead opened up yet in this series. So much of it through Jensen's moves. It starts with laning dominance. It has a midpoint of killing Ssumday for blue buff, and then the next chapter is killing Ssumday up top again.
It's insane how aggressive C9's playing this game. We thought that 100 Thieves might be the more slightly early game oriented comp, but it's skill matchups in both solo lanes. Bot lane obviously has the potential to scrap back, and now 4,000 gold up. You're looking at this draft from 100 Thieves and wondering how they get back in. Game 2, it was off of insane engages in team fighting, but they don't quite have that same level of synergy in their composition. And I think it throws the entire philosophy of how to approach this series into question. If 100 Thieves are going to be the team fighting team, might need to start opting into it.
I love that play there by Berserker. That was really cool. Already got the whimsy move speed from Zven, jumped over, tried to pinch out FBI. Couldn't quite get it, but still crushing that lane. It's, okay, there was a Herald, but it's still 3 plates to 1 against Lucian Nami. They are so crushing over there on the Cloud9 side. Yeah, I wonder if these can find anything else in.
Yeah, and you can see it's kind of hard for Jensen to grow his CS advantage against Abbedagge because Abbedagge is just sitting in his turret waiting for Jensen to kill the wave, which is giving Jensen all these opportunities to move into river. So really no river control whatsoever by 100 Thieves, which makes it really difficult for them to play out any of these side lanes because they have no idea where jungler support is.
Wurgle comes across, adding 1 to FBI scoreline. Another one coming through as well. Nice 30 gold from huhi, disgusting. It's fine.
Another thing that I'm sure you'll be very happy, most likely, is the Triforce on the Gnar as a ardent Triforce defender over Sunderer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, it's the better sort of like carry version of the item. Like, keep in mind, Gnar functionally has silver bolts, right? Like, I hit you 3 times, I get a bunch of bonus damage. If he wants to kill Ssumday, the Triforce move, like attack speed, is just very valuable. Move speed, very valuable. You can chase people down. If you're winning, Triforce is the better win more item. And a lot of games where winning your side lane more is how you win the game. Drake count now tied back up. 100 Thieves have found their timing a while ago, but Cloud9 now own the map, and everything they want just belongs to them.
And there's a really nice gold spread for their lead. It's an 1,100 gold lead for Fudge's Gnar. It's a 600 gold lead for Blaber's Poppy. It's a 1,300 gold lead for Jensen's LeBlanc. And a 1,000 to 1,100 gold lead for Berserker. So that means anywhere they go, they are strong.
And I think this is 100 Thieves just kind of flipping the game a little bit here, saying nothing's going in our favor. We're going to all in on this Rift Herald. I don't even think C9's going to contest, though. They're more than happy to just keep the bot lane bottom and grab that turret.
Yeah, because what do you do with the Rift Herald? You get a turret. Well, C9's just going to take a turret for Berserker. They're always going to take that.
And second Herald, excuse me, sometimes difficult to drop if you're this far behind in the game. Finding an area where you're able to push in with the wave, get the channel time off, not have it be contested, not have that kind of sniffed out coming. So it's sometimes even just a almost 0 positive play except for the initial shutdown or kill gold onto the Rift Herald.
I will say that the power point for 100 Thieves is now that Lucian Nami with Gale Force and Imperial Mandate completed. They are very potent as a duo.
That's a slow. I mean, I think he can go for a little something here, decides not to anymore, despite the buffs on. Knows reinforcements will be coming pretty soon. He gets nothing done with Blaber despite the slow landing. Fudge still getting damage to the tower. Not in a rush to kill it. Happy to deny some farm from Ssumday instead, who also knows if I step up, this turret dies to 2 autos, and then I die too. Keep in mind, Mythic diff in the top lane means there's nothing Ssumday can do in the 1v1.
Yeah, Ssumday, after having an incredible Gwen performance put onto his back foot here, on the cams between games, it looked like Fudge was a little upset maybe about how that previous game went. Jatt and I were joking, it's like, that's the face of a man who just got put on Ornn duty.
And lost.
And lost, and was like, why did I just do that? Give me a carry champion. And this time, much like game 1, Fudge coming out better in the lane phase.
Yeah, I do love the shots that we're getting of the players. I hope they're okay with it because sometimes you're just zoning off. You don't want it to seem like you're not paying attention. Maybe they're just trying to relax at the moment, but...
Maybe he's trying to remember if he shut the front door on the way out, you know? Great, yep. Get the 1,000-yard stare.
Did I? Is the oven on? Oh, shoot. Hold on. 2.5 minutes still, though, to the Drake. It's going to be a long one until we have Soul mattering, but Mountain Soul is, I would say, the best win more Drake. It's like, the only way you kill us is if you one-shot us. Well, we have 500-point shields. You're not doing that.
Yeah, plus all the extra resist that come in. Obviously not a ton of people who are going to be stacking those up, but Poppy will be feeling a lot better. Fudge will probably pick up maybe a Death Dance or something. A couple resist coming in eventually.
And it still applies your base stats, and everyone has like 60 average armor MR or more by mid-game, so it looks pretty good. Abbedagge gonna be rooted. A tackle to get rid of Closer. 100 Thieves can't find their way in yet, but here comes the big play. Across goes Closer. They try to get one. Blaber drops FBI, but can he live? Just barely. So far, a 1 for nothing. Health bar's low. Ssumday, with the help of huhi, knocks one as well. Gets the knockup. Flash bubble forces away, and off a 5,000 gold deficit. 100 Thieves win the team fight.
How is this possible? How do they keep winning these fights from such devastating deficits? They did just hit the mythic items on all of their core champions, so the power was a little closer than the gold lead, but still, such team fight.
C9 go in, trying to pick multiple fights at the same time. You see, while FBI and huhi are kind of cutting out this 3-man core, Jensen's gonna pop in here. And most importantly, Fudge gonna TP in Mininar. Absolutely zero rage built up. And so while 100 Thieves is able to kite out initially, it's a good re-engage by Closer, getting that 4-man knockup, lends to a really nice ultimate there by the Nami. Like you said, Imperial Mandate completed, getting a lot of damage in. And then when both side laners show up for reinforcement, it's Ssumday who's a lot more impactful in this team fight. And there's no way for Berserker to get any of those low health members down to the other side of the fight. And huhi and Ssumday just pair together to force the rest of C9 back.
FBI went for broke. He dropped to 200 health, but he got the final kill onto Blaber. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, Ssumday just performed better. You mentioned the Aatrox coming in. That was so important. They did have all 5 and was able to survive as there were only components on Fudge. So the gold lead gets brought back a little bit. It's still dire straits. It drops down to only 4,000.
I feel like anytime we talk about scaling this, scaling that,
Yeah.
it almost never seems to matter. One team still finds ways to win a team fight. Even when we think that they're behind in the gold, behind with how their composition is supposed to play, it speaks to how good these teams can be in those team fights.
Technically, FBI reached his second item before Berserker does. He skipped boots to do so, so it's a little fraudulent. Berserkers are a very good item, but the Herald is summoned to slowly walk through bottom lane. It'll do almost nothing unless they win the fight outright. Then they'll get a free Drake.
5v5 over Shelly.
Yeah, Fudge gonna have no problem with this one. He can kind of sit there, but he is back to Mininar, so a timing window where they do not have a full power top laner. And if these maybe try to use one, Ssumday jumps the wall. How much space can they buy? Because eventually Fudge will start building this bar back up.
It's still like 4,000 gold lead by Cloud9. They should be much stronger. Jensen threatening the flank. 100 Thieves really hoping to land a burst on him. Lucian, Nami can actually mark LeBlanc quite well. They do so much burst damage, so it is tricky for Jensen to enter first.
The rage up a little bit for Fudge now. 5,000 on this Drake. C9, no 2-item spikes. Ulti coming across, not gonna get a good target, puts it back on cooldown. Jensen's still waiting for his window towards one-shotting somebody. Closer again, wants to jump the wall. Ssumday gonna build some frontline space. 3k health, they gotta go for it soon if there's a smite fight. Zoned out by the Zeri, still wants to play for the team fight itself. Jumps over, Jensen now spotted, gonna go for the burn. Will it happen? Eviction! The smite gonna come in. 2-1 on the one side. Does Cloud9 get the team fight now is the question. Fudge, dodge clear from the bubble, tackle onto huhi, and he goes down. Jensen finds his man, and the chase in for more. Gonna go for the chain. That'll catch almost, but not quite. Plus the dragon, plus a kill. Cloud9 come back.
Massive win there by Cloud9. Jensen playing the edge of that fight the entire time, and just such a good eviction by Poppy, like you said. Make sure they get that, and then a wall stun right after onto the flashless Nami. So many summoners were down after that skirmish right before it.
The gold lead is still so big, but the fights are very close, so Cloud9 definitely probably don't feel as far ahead as they actually are with the way the fights are playing out. Unable to steal that red buff as well.
I think we'll see it better pretty soon once we get to item spikes. I think that's always the big thing. It's why like calling gold leads can always be a little fraudulent, or Drakes and their value of stats and whatnot, because what matters is collecting unique passes. That's where all the power in these items is. And it's like, you are at 5,000 gold. Everyone's up a pickaxe.
True.
That's not as good as being up a chainsword.
Already, right away, grabbing the chainsword for the Nami healing, the sustain as well, versus the Aatrox in the 1v1. Not a bad purchase in that sense, knowing that you'll be side laning against him quite a bit. 2 items across the board for C9 there.
Missed one. Anathemas.
Yep.
How dare you disrespect Blaber like that, sir?
It just came up. You got it faster than the automated bot did, so Jatt, you still get full credit, IMO.
Thanks.
Well done. Yeah.
Still got those old Season 1 Dignitas mechanics, huh?
The Udyr Trundle mechanics.
I'll always take full credit.
Yeah. But we're looking at the next play. We are pretty far from the third Drake for Cloud9. 3 minutes out. Probably gives enough time to finish items, actually. We're halfway through to the next piece here on Abbedagge. Blue buff attempt, and it's not going to happen for Ssumday. Fudge gets to claim it himself. Doesn't let Zven get the golden XP on Lulu. Nice shot comes through, though. Berserker gets about 800 damage through.
Almost charms up Jensen there. It does feel like a lot of this game is about, for 100 Thieves, keeping track of Jensen and making sure that he doesn't destroy their battle lines.
Huh. Bit of a weird move there. It pushes them back slightly, but they now have lost the Shirelli's active there. This is one of those times where Blaber really wants to do something.
Abba gets the root. Tidal Wave separates them for a moment. Will they find anything good here? Closer says, go ahead and go for it. Put the ulti onto me. And forces an important cooldown out of Poppy. Now, again, we're still 2.5 from Drake. Everything will come back in time. Baron baits don't seem to be happening.
I know that looks funny to a lot of people, but what you just said is very important, because otherwise Poppy just holds the ult for zoning duty, lets it time out, gets the really short refund, and so by threatening forward, Closer knows he's going to get kicked out, but he's doing that to make Poppy actually commit the cooldown. Of course, it will be up in time for the next Dragon situation, but it does buy some space for 100 Thieves to try and press forward, start getting some vision control. There's no reason not to force the cooldown.
What if there is suddenly a Baron bait? What if something happens with a pick and it's like, we got to go for this one? Well, Poppy can't now send out Closer, and you never know. Sometimes it makes a difference, so it's, expected value positive. If it's a lull state, yeah, nothing happens, but you never know. And it's going to be ward control back and forth again. Now, control ward in for Cloud9 means this is a dark pit in 100 Thieves. Right with a sweeper, Abbedagge's like, anyone there? What do I see? I get a charm, I get a root, I guess I take the damage. Jensen locked up, Jensen running for his life, able to stay alive, and guess what? Blaber doesn't have ulti for a fight that broke out. Doesn't matter at the end of the day, everyone lives, but a close one here from 100 Thieves.
I was just debating whether or not I liked the Merc Treads by Jensen, given that there's only really the charm that is that lockdown-ish CC that you would think to see. Maybe you wanted more pen if you just went with the Shadow Flame build, but obviously had value there.
Looks pretty good. Ulti coming across now. Now gets a slow from Nami, which means they can lock down Fudge a bit better. Tidal Wave's gonna get flashed away from. Another important cooldown missing, but guess what? Three-man push onto Baron. Yes, indeed. Oh, they're going in for more. Closer's gotta be safe. Has to flash the wall. Does his best. The charm buys a bit more time, but they're TPing for even more. Berserker flashes, ults, goes for what he can, but minions are blocking the damage. Sidesteps the ulti. Closer's still shot, but they can't stay on him. Jensen has to jump right back out. And we got a bit more going on. Health bar's low. The Closer's clone takes the damage. Berserker can't find the kill. Ulti's timing out. No one dead.
Yeah, nobody dies after so many ultimates are burned. 100 Thieves down all 5 of theirs. C9 down 3 of 5, but they have forced them all back to base. So they begin the Baron.
9K on this one, and it's going to be a burn down. As the recall's come across, health bar's low. FBI can be healed, but can't team fight all that strongly. And there is no jungler. There is no smite. It is a guarantee, and it's claimed. Perfect timing, 880, and it's going to be Blaber claiming Baron.
Huge Baron buff claimed. 7,000 gold lead. A quick reset, but it looks like the Dragon traded back for 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves doing what they can to minimize that loss. They looked like they were playing a good bit of defense there, down 5,500 gold, getting a play on the bot side, trying to force the sums out of Fudge, getting some sums out of Jensen as well, but that Baron force after they saw the Nami is what started that play. Blaber, we talked about how he was feeling a little itchy on the trigger finger, and that's ultimately what got them the Baron despite the no kills coming through.
It's such an interesting game here because looking at the items and looking at how dominant C9 has been in lane, you would feel like it doesn't feel close, but it's such a large gold lead, only 1 kill difference. 100 Thieves is so clutch in teamfights, you feel like they can always find their way back into a game, but statistically, C9 is just way ahead.
We'll see if they close it out, because Baron is still on Reveler and power play. 2,400 to their lead. They lost the Drake. They got a root on stun, a knockup on a Blaber,
like that,
and they'll get the first kill. A huge play as Blaber takes an unsafe route through the enemy jungle and is punished for it.
Just feeling confident, feeling safe with the Baron buff. They're grabbing top turret, like you said, kind of tries to cut that rotation on that side of the wall, and 100 Thieves were lurking in the brush. They do lose both bot or mid and top inner turret, so still a nice Baron buff for them as Jensen trying to poke around a little bit, but this is what we're talking about with the 100 Thieves defense in a sense, where you can never feel confident stepping forward against them because someone might be lurking in a brush. Jensen had gotten charmed out just before that. It's like there's always the side of 100 Thieves hunting for ways when you overstep.
And something that is always just impressive to me is, like, look at the CS, 282 before you're at 28 minutes. Berserker is just, this series, so consistently over 10 CS a minute, still showing up to team fights at the right time, and has all the power he needs to carry this game.
0-0-0 right now, but you can expect that to change pretty soon, I bet, if these fights start going C9's way a little bit more. 3-3 in kills. It is surprisingly bloodless for how many fights there have been.
Yeah. Part of it's because the teams just have such poor engage, right? So they're taking each other quite low and then able to escape.
Hits him. 700 damage on to Closer. Of course, the 3-item Berserker spikes that one quite a bit. Fudge may look for something else now. Ssumday brings it into the brush. It would be a blind boomerang, and Abbedagge should be able to burst this one down. Indeed does so. 3 minutes until the next Dragon split. 2 apiece. It is not soul, but it will be soul point. Baron times out at 2,700 in the power play. Fudge is Mega Gnar. Will they go for the play? They're going to look for it. Fudge cannot find the stun. Nothing else happens. Sidestep by Blaber. No charm either.
100 Thieves able to kind of kite that one out. Fudge's Gnar is going to time out right as this push goes through. We'll see if 100 Thieves want to go. Closes on the flank.
He spotted that one doing so, so it might not look like a whole lot for him. Gonna knock the ward down, but still no play to be had. Gnar gonna be happy. Jensen only hits onto the clone as it's dodged away.
Yep, Baron gone.
8,000 gold ahead. I haven't spent all of it. This bike is not as big as it might look, though still pretty good on the Cloud9 side. Turret taking the shots, and at this point you can see 100 Thieves running away. Gold lead grows now to 9,000. Plenty of time to spend. 2 minutes until the 5th break of the game.
Yeah, 5,300 gold in inventory for Cloud9 right now, so definitely need to get that money converted into items by the time the next dragon spawns. And 100 Thieves, they can hold on to this game a sneaky long time. Even though they don't have amazing scaling or great engage, they can still hold out hope that they find these picks. They found a few of them already. So Cloud9 absolutely in the driver's seat, but 100 Thieves has a lot of tools to hang on.
Yeah, it does feel like, though, the later and later it goes, the more it probably slips into Cloud9's favor. Slightly better frontline, you could argue. It does highly depend if Fudge is in Gnar and if Aatrox is able to be landing these Qs to be doing all that drain tanking. But then the kind of insurance policy that is Berserker hasn't taken over a team fight yet, but we have seen his Zeri time and time again. He had the pentakill in the regular season. He had a number of triple kills and quadra kills in that series against EG. He does feel like the threat that 100 Thieves will need to find a way onto to win a fight.
Well, it's the way to play the Bloodthirst, though. Berserker going to be harder and harder to kill. Lockdown can be tough, still has that barrier, the pocket heal. Zven can ult level 11 now, so lots of defensive tools available on the Lulu. As we tick down 50 seconds towards this Drake. 100 Thieves be the first ones into the river now. They get rid of the Cloud9 wards. Fudge staying in the pit, can jump if needed, for now feels safe. No one can really interrupt that, so he is happy to play around there and he chances a flank angle. He builds toward Gnar. Poppy ult held. There's a whole lot of nothing. Even that feels a little strange since, again, you can't really force these fights. It's not like you get to, like, knock out Wukong then actually force a kill into, like, Lucian, but whatever, it'll be back to very, very
Maybe he's
short.
just bored.
Yeah.
Some buttons.
Sure.
It's like fiddling with your phone case.
I mean, he's getting helicopter weapon more than Wukong is, I feel like, you know? Like,
Yeah.
saying, I can do this all day, realistically.
Why not?
Try not to press our challenge, if possible, for Blaber.
Okay, time is gonna get tight now though because the dragon is coming up very soon, and oh, he's gonna find the tech. He found the way in. Goodbye to Huhi. A pushback on a 2. Fudge ensures they get the rest, and resting in peace is what happens now to 100 Thieves. They're gonna get everybody. Ssumday left alone. 4 in a row, and Abbedagge can run back to his inhibitor. And guess what? A charm buys time, but Berserker claims it in the end. Cloud9 in complete control. The Floodlight Ace here in Game 3. They will knock down the inhibitor and the turrets and find a 31-minute victory. A game away from the spot in the finals.
Cloud9 with the cleanest win thus far this series. They grabbed control early. They never let it go. It took a little bit of time, but they had such a commanding lead. And finally in that fight, they find the angle with Blaber's clean engage to just 5 for 0 ace them.
I actually love what Blaber did there, just uselessly channeling his ultimate over and over again. And as soon as it wears off, it's like 100 Thieves takes a breath and then flash wall stun. Right away, kills Huhi, ends the game. Kind of a fitting end to that one, actually, because it had a weird amount of tension despite Cloud9 just growing their gold lead more and more and more. And then they crushed it to the finish line, the fastest game of the series.
Nice win by Cloud9 there. First time on blue sides. 100 Thieves had gone blue side game 1 and game 2. Have to think they'll be heading back there. Have to figure out what they want to do in the draft. Early games feel like they've been going Cloud9's way. This one didn't have a ton of kills, but monstrous lane leads off Jensen, off Fudge, and even the bot lane in a losing matchup, finding leads.
Yeah, and it's something I saw with Cloud9 throughout a lot of this year was their laning phase was incredibly strong. They just didn't have the team fighting coordination to close it out to enough victories. That changed in playoffs with the 3 wins they took against EG and now being 1 game away from also taking down 100 Thieves. Moments like this where everyone can follow Blaber in, jumping Gnar, jumping Jensen, they blow up Huhi and get a 2-man Gnar ultimate back on both of the other main damage dealers there, FBI and Ssumday. Beautiful final fight by C9.
Yeah, you can see the desperation to get on top for Berserker by Ssumday and Closer. They're kind of just diving after him, but getting interrupted by the rest of Cloud9, buying that space after they had already blown up the Nami. That's one of the key disengage tools, as well as ways to enable the damage. Not able to do it. Fudge holding turret aggro, trying to pin down the Ahri. Eventually, Berserker's like, I got it, don't worry.
His only kill of the game.
Carry, hard carry right there.
But he was ready for it. He was ready in case it got dangerous.
Funnily enough, the most important thing he did that game was survive lane phase against Lucian Nami and come out ahead. That was honestly more important than anything else he did.
Yeah, he did more than survive. He thrived. They were up farm outright. They won that lane. Jensen won his lane handily. Top was fine, but the objectives went over to Cloud9's way. So a very well played game, complete control it felt like. And now we're heading over to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Phreak. Another win here for Cloud9 as they push the series score to 2-1. Once again, we'll start by recognizing Jensen picking up a win here and making himself the fourth all-time wins leader in LCS, just eclipsing Doublelift by 1 officially. Not just that, though, as people have been aware, 8th consecutive Worlds appearance for Jensen. Yeah. That was already booked last week, but just wanted to make sure we got that out there to the world as well.
The big thing about the ladder, too, is that's worldwide, which is kind of nuts if you think about how many phenomenal players there are, particularly, obviously, the name that's going to come up is FLICKR. Welcome back, Zale.
Thank you. I was checking out some review stuff for Jensen.
Yeah, this was a great game from Jensen, right? And he had kind of a rough game 1, I think. Like, obviously, he made the game-winning play, and the decisiveness from C9 was there, but this was a phenomenal LeBlanc game from him.
And I got to just watch through his early laning phase, and he was able to create a lot of his advantages just kind of through aggressive positioning. It seemed like more that he was actually taxing Abbedagge's mana pool than anything, because he was constantly playing up in the wave in a way that was forcing Abbedagge to last hit with spells very, very frequently. So Abbedagge was actually going pretty low on mana relatively early, and because he had the push very heavily early on, he forced the TP back very early. Then he's able to have some good trades. Again, Abbedagge's out of mana. He has to go back. The bot lane from 100 Thieves actually rotates up to cover, and that's when you started to see that CS advantage really open up. So Jensen had some extremely impressive early laning there, and also that paired with the fact that he got that roam off towards top lane. This was just a monster game from him, and this is a guy that when I used to make Lincoln back in the day, like I covered multiple times. Because his laning and his movement is so good, he really can create these individual gaps in a game that can decide the whole thing.
Yeah, it was so important that he got out of lane and kind of beat the Ahri to roams, because that's also what she wants to do as well. And that wasn't the only laning thing we had, because obviously I got the Lucian Nami that I wanted to see, and it did not work out well.
Fell flat.
Because Berserker and Zven just decided that the lane was theirs. And when you have a lane like that and you don't get the push pressure from your kill threat, it affects you massively because the Zeri and the Lulu outscale you.
Raz, I didn't realize that matchups work like that. You just decide.
You decide you're better.
You're now the winning side of the matchup, and then you win it.
I didn't get to see like the exact laning.
No, but you're right, because it was one of those things where you have the expectation of how every lane should go, and then 10 minutes in, you take a peek down at the scoreboard, and you're like, wait a second, the Zeri's 30 CS up on the Lulu.
So FLICKR, how do you play this matchup? Well, I CS more than him and I kill him, you know?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, speaking of posturing aggressively, like that's essentially what they did, right? Like they were able to bully the Lucian Nami off the wave.
Yeah, and I really loved the draft from C9 in terms of that. It felt like, well, the only fear that I had was bot lane. And then the moment I saw that bot lane trade in which, sure, your Lulu gets chunked, but Zeri brings it back and then some, that was rough. This was actually specifically Ssumday who was taking blue, the enemy blue, so he was just trying to get a cheeky steal, but then the moment he got caught red-handed, tried to run away from it, but LeBlanc caught him on the backside. So that happened, and then as Azale said, gets dove top lane. Now he's just pretty much out of the game, but take a look at this.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is 100 Thieves, I think, fighting back. You know, they took such a superior position here over by the blue buff. When you're forcing your opponents to kind of fight up into that concave the 100 Thieves has set up, even though they were quite behind, they're really able to get quite a lot out of the fight.
Yeah, and it was just beautiful from C9 up until this point. That 100 Thieves was able to come back there, and the Aatrox was able to kind of control the rest of that.
This is going to be a flash engage by Blaber. He lets this fizzle, finds the in on the Lucian, and very classically him does not waste any time looking for the engage here. Sees the moment, goes, ends the game. Boom, just like that.
Just like that. And I mean, they've had already a pretty large gold lead up until this point, and Cloud9 had done a great job controlling this game.
And I actually think that was so impressive. Like, that is knowing the exact limits of the Poppy charge, right? Like, he barely caught him. It's not like FBI was standing directly against the wall. He charged him on an angle and barely catches him on the very end of that. So that was actually super well played, because if you don't get the stun off there, that could potentially go pretty bad.
And Emily, I'm super curious your thoughts, because you were the one who kind of had thrown out there following the second game, even though it was a loss for Cloud9, that the Wukong was something maybe that the 100 Thieves would either target, you know, to just eliminate or take away. Yeah. And we did get that trade of junglers going the other way, but Blaber wins out the Poppy side of it.
Yeah.
Ban
Well,
Blaber.
ban
Like this
Blaber.
plan.
I think there's
League of
two
Legends
things.
is so much easier when you explain it. Yeah.
Returning to something that Fudge said, right? Where he's like, the team is with him because when he makes these aggressive plays, like, you know,
He's
we
a crazy
know
person,
to follow
but
up.
he's our crazy
yeah,
person.
exactly. But then the other thing is this Poppy pick, we kind of talked about this off camera. It's really good into what 100 Thieves want to do just because of the interrupt. So it was obviously they did elect to take the Wukong, but Poppy is also just similarly really strong, especially into this comp.
Raz, I don't think it's going to surprise anybody that as a reaction to the loss there, 100 Thieves is going to hop back to blue side. Oh, damn.
Wow.
Did say surprise one person.
Yeah.
We got a shock.
me.
Surprise peek
Shock
at your
and awe.
face.
But this is, again, this is our 2-seed team. This is a team that we've talked about how hungry they are to get back to a finals in front of a crowd and actually hoist the trophy with that live crowd. The pressure is on now, 2 in a row, and they got to do it from blue. How do you want to see them do it?
It's going to be really tough. Last time they were on blue side and Azir was banned, they went straight towards the Kalista. They might just do the exact same thing. I think a lot of people will look at it and say, oh, you know, you have a timer, but if you are able to get a pick like Gwen, and also on top of that, just see that same level of play from Abbedagge again. It really is individuals coming up and having stellar performances.
Absolutely, and I've just got to say for the Cloud9 side, you know, the reason I predicted 100 Thieves was I wasn't certain Cloud9 could replicate the level of performance that they had against EG because they hadn't shown it all year long. So I'm like, it's one series, could be a flash in the pan.
It might be an aberration.
Very clearly, it is not, and I think it's so impressive to see how fast this team has actually developed now. It's leaps and bounds over the last couple of weeks.
Emily, we saw Zven with his notebook.
I love it.
There, that shot. What do you think they're discussing?
I mean, they had a really good game.
That's what I mean. Like, it's kind of, I'm always curious, too, what a winning team is thinking, right? Like,
Talking about the next Travis Gafford interview.
There it is, exactly.
What Fudge is going to say about finals?
Anytime Zven gets a chance to pause the video, he'll take it.
I feel like Zven is the type, because we were talking during one of the pauses, I think, with Jatt about, like, and you, Raz, about, like, what you cover and what you try to avoid in terms of, like, a long pause. Zven seems like the player to me who would go back and review his own play and just be like, here's where I messed up. Like, and because he's so, like, self-critical and he wants to win so badly. I think the fact that he's, again, now on match point, going into grand finals after role swapping, it's just super, super impressive.
He's got one more roll swap within him. Just to win.
Don't get
Coach
too far ahead of yourself. Let's maybe win one championship in the support position before we start thinking about something
all
else.
I'm saying, if he picks up that support Ash once again,
like that.
if he's
him and Fudge gonna Fudge will also pull off another
if he picks
swap?
up that Ash support once again, he's the AD carry, the support, and the coach.
Great. I'm glad that that'll be the final point that we dive into series point on. All right. Okay. Cloud9, they rack up another win to bring us to match point. Now as we head to break, do you smell that? The smell of something strong, something classic, something full body. Check it out.
Sensual, shocking, curious, beefy. Destiny is a bridge to a positive KDA. Sometimes blue buff makes me blue on the inside. What am I looking for? What if I find it? When did the other team take dragon? The universe is telling me to body these fools. Body by Jensen.
This is a league built on speed and precision, where everything needs to perform at a pro level, especially your hardware.
block the road. They want to complete the final piece of the puzzle. They don't have enough damage for it, but who cares? It's all a formality, baby. The winner of LCS Lock-In.
Even if you're hard stuck plat, like me, forever. Roccat, the official mouse and keyboard of the LCS.